Romances are back, but with a twist. We got way more new Assassin's Creed Shadows info and some teasers for the future. Of course, if you are hyped or curious about the game, drop a like, that would really help me out. And let's go. We now know the actors behind Yasuke and Naoe thanks to AC Landmarks. Masumi will play Naoe, you can know her from Yakuza Princess or Naruto Climbing Silver and other shows and movies. I'm not familiar with them myself, of course let me know if you watched any of them in the comments. And Yasuke is played by Tongai Chirisa, who has a bit more credits for TV shows like the Jim Gaffigan show, iZombie, he also did voice work for Wolfenstein The New Order. And what's interesting is that both characters will not have the same dialogue anymore, like this totally made Eivor less of an interesting character for me because both the male and female versions were of course the exact same. Now we of course had two playable characters before in Syndicate, but Shadows seems to take that system to a new level. Like both Jacob and Evie had their own script as well, but the game decided who you could play during main missions and of course what role each character played in those missions. Well, in Shadows, we should have way more agency over that. The creative director, Jonathan Dumont, namely talked about the updated conversation tools they have. It is interesting that in the conversational scenes, the player decides which of the two protagonists speaks and they ask for different things. This is cool in a way. And I agree, that's very cool and similar to other RPGs where you also have the option to choose which party member will respond, and this will also then have an impact on how the conversation is going. Like the interesting thing about having two completely different main characters is that their background and motives are completely different. Yasuke arrived in Japan in 1579, just when the game starts, and he is of course a foreigner discovering Japan for the first time, just like the player, and that is what Ubisoft really liked about the character, and after watching the Shogun TV show, I totally get that. Seeing John Blackthorne, the English captain, experience the Japanese culture and costumes for the first time really highlighted how different things are and created really fun dynamics. And that's why I think Yasuke is a very interesting choice for this game next to a Japanese woman, and I said it before by the way, but totally check the Shogun TV show out if you haven't already to learn way more about the setting of AC Shadows. Ubisoft notes that Yasuke is very intelligent, thoughtful and respectful of the culture he encounters, which makes him a very nice counterpart to Naoe. He's a bit mysterious as well, and we will see that unfold as the game progresses. Interesting tease, maybe this has to do with the fact that he will have direct contact with some of the most powerful figures in this time period, like Oda Nobunaga, who he of course joins in his army, but he will also be in contact with the Christians, the Portuguese that he travels with to Japan, who are likely linked to the Templars. And on the other hand, we have Naoe, who of course grew up in the Iga province and trained with her father to become a strong shinobi, but she doesn't know a lot about the other parts of Japan that she is now forced to explore after the second attack by Oda Nobunaga that burned down her home. So her motive is likely vengeance against the people who killed her family and friends. Naoe is very intense and passionate and a determined woman who is very set on her goals. Hard on her sleeves, and she will say what she feels in the heat of the moment. And this is the intensity that she brings as a shinobi, but that she also brings to her relationships. Like Ubisoft confirms that both characters should have different relationships with the people they meet. Yasuke might like the person while Naoe doesn't, or the other way around, and NPCs will have a preference as well, and might only want to deal with one of the two and not talk to the other. Romantically, they will also attract and be attracted to different types of people. Through the pair, players will get to experience a multitude of relationships. Not surprising, but good to hear that romances are back. Let's hope they are more meaningful and fleshed out this time instead of the kiss and then the camera moves away. We had that for, it felt like every romance in Valhalla, but it seems as though in Shadows, not every romance option is available for both Yasuke and Naoe, while you could of course do everyone with both Cassandra Alexios or male or female Eivor. Now I don't think this means that same-sex romance won't be possible, I totally think it will, but more that some people who are just not vibing with Yasuke but do like Naoe will only be the romance option for her, and of course the other way around. And it seems that, unlike in Cyberpunk, where you would have to replay the whole game with a different fee if you figured out that Judy only likes the female option, that in Shadows, by just switching between Yasuke and Naoe, you can see all the romance options in one playthrough. Now that is just speculation, of course. Maybe by going for one character you are locking yourself out of the other for the other character, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll make sure to ask about this when I get the chance to talk to the developers. And in the pinned comment, you by the way find a link to my giveaway for the Ultimate Edition of the game. If you want to participate, you have to be a subscriber of the channel. I found this piece of information also pretty interesting, so people should behave differently depending on who you play. Naoe, for example, can present herself as a peasant and garner appropriate reactions. That is, if she wants to be seen at all. Like, she can probably use social stealth to blend in with everyone on the street. But Yasuke, on the other hand, comes from a different land, but his status as a samurai garners respect from others, so people will bow to him on the street. We also learned that the reactions while doing parkour are different depending on who you play, with people being more surprised when Yasuke climbs a building than Naoe. So far the game seems very grounded overall. Of course, the team that is leading the Shadow development previously did Odyssey, and for that game we already during the first gameplay footage saw Alexios jumping off a high building and sending enemies flying with the Spear of Leonidas. And at the end of the gameplay walkthrough, they already teased the Minotaur boss fight, and also Valhalla already showed the more mythical Daughters of Lyrian boss fights during the gameplay reveal. But so far, we don't know what the role of this type of content will be in Shadows. Famitsu asked about it, and the associate narrative director simply responded saying that that's a very good question, but I will answer this one later. Which tells to me that we should totally expect some Japanese mythology. It would actually suck if some really cool boss fights were not part of this game. High chance it will also be at the Ubisoft Forward when they reveal the gameplay walkthrough, that we will already see some small teases for what the mythical content will look like. And I'm curious if they will go for the hallucinations again like we saw in Valhalla, or if they will be dropping pieces of Eden everywhere to create these creatures. Maybe just like in Origins, it will be a glitch in the Animus that caused the Trial of the Gods. My bet that it is easy related somehow, and would not fighting these bosses be way smarter with Yasuke, as stealth is not very useful, so curious if they give us a good incentive to try the bosses with Naoe as well. Maybe beat the boss with Yasuke to get a cool item for him, or beat the boss with Naoe to get something awesome exclusive to her. That would be kinda cool and push you to try the boss with both characters. Your theories and what you want to see of the mythical content, of course, more than welcome in the comments down below. Famitsu also asked about the Discovery Tour, and they also would not deny it, but also said that they could not answer this today. Like, that is of course something that usually drops post-launch, but I don't see them skipping it for the most requested setting, where this educational mode would actually be really cool. And I liked how they made more story-focused quests inside this mode in Valhalla, so you were learning about history while also doing a pretty fun mission. It was cooler than the previous, more museum-style guided tours. Subscribe for way more Assassin's Creed Shadows content. I will of course be bringing you way more regarding Ubisoft Forward. It's gonna be great, so keep it locked for that. A like on the video would really help me out. And Dennis did a video on Shadows as well that you can watch by clicking on the screen regarding the Templars and way more. I will see you very soon. Goodbye.